What's going on, my fellow collectors? Jim here with another figure review. Let's take a look at the Diamond Select Toys Ghostbusters 2 We're Back Ray Stantz action figure. Very cool. Now this is the cheaper version. I think they're like $14.99. I got it at Toys R Us. This does not come with the diorama pieces that build the firehouse. And that's for this series of figures that they're doing, is like side of the firehouse or something like that. But Diamond Select Toys, I've had a couple of their Ghostbusters figures in the past. They do make nice looking, 6-inch figures for your collection. I personally didn't really care for the head sculpts. I feel like they got Dan Aykroyd's down really well. So the Ray head sculpts look good. It definitely had some issues with the Bill Murray, Peter Venkman likeness. And the Egon looked pretty good as well too, but I didn't really care for the glasses because they're kind of like, one piece going over, but I guess it's better than painting it. But anyway, the packaging is what we've seen with this style, which is just the figure, not the diorama piece. You have the cardboard, the big blister. You got Ghostbusters 2, We're Back, Ray Stantz, action figure. Oh, you see all the accessories, really cool. Top of the packaging, bottom, side. And the back does show that also available is the geared up Lewis. And man, I saw it, I almost picked him up too, because he actually looks really good too. So that's probably one that I'm going to pick up. And we do have Vigo, which looks really good. They didn't have it when I was there at Toys R Us, but I've seen pictures and reviews of this guy. He does look really good, but he doesn't come with the picture. You think it would come with the portrait. There's a little bit of a read up here at the top. And it says the 7-inch scale action figure is based on the 1989 feature film Ghostbusters 2. Features multiple points of articulation and is sculpted by Gentle Giant Studio. So, yeah, they always do a very good job with their sculpt, and I think that they did a really good job with the Dan Aykroyd likeness. You got the Diamond Select Toys, Ghostbusters, Sony, and your local comic book shop finder. But yeah, that is the packaging. Let's go ahead and crack this open and take. Okay, and here he is out of the packaging along with everything that we do get with this awesome figure. Starting off accessory-wise, we do get a small little radio, walkie-talkie, that we've seen before with the other Ghostbusters figures. This is more or less just molded in black. Has a little bit of sculpting details on it, so that is cool. And it does have a place that you can put it on his belt, so that is very cool. We do get a bunch of different hands with this guy. We have two right hands, so we have one kind of fisted right hand. And then we have one kind of, open grabbing hand. And these do have up and down hinges on them. And the hinges are a little bit paint stuck. So you kind of have to hit them a couple times. As you see, it's like rubbing all the paint off of there. But the hue of the hands are a little bit weird. It's almost like they went with a very pale skin tone and then put some like pinkish red over it. So some of them don't really match up very well. They don't match the hands that are on him right now. But that's kind of a minor gripe. Then we do have two other gripping hands, and these have a side-to-side hinge on it, so I thought that was really cool. And again, these are really, really paint stuck. You gotta kind of mess with them to get them to actually operate. But that is cool that we have two gripping hands for both sides that have the side-to-side hinge. Then we do have two pairs of gloved hands. So we have two, gripping hands. Actually, I have these backwards, don't I? So we do have, a left and right gripping hand. And these look good, for the most part. Just with the black. And of course it does have this separate piece that goes over. And then we have two kind of like open style pose hands for the gloves as well. And both of those just have the up and down hinge. Then we do get the neutron, reactor blast part, so that this is cool. We've seen these with the other Ghostbusters figures as well. So it has some really nice kind of sculpted detail on it with this orange, plastic piece with the brown kind of the blue sculpted around it, and it's a little bit on the soft side. It's not like bendable, like you can't bend it. It is like a more or less dense plastic, but it does look cool. Then we do have the Santa hat, and that turned out nice. Gets a nice sculpt as well as some texture on it. And of course we do have the white on the outside of the hat and on the little ball. But yeah, the Santa hat looks good, and it is more or less kind of just sculpted to fit on his head. So you just have to line this part up to the front of his head. And once it does connect on there really well. It does fit on him really good. But that is all the accessories that we get. As long, and also we get a stand as well, which is needed because he's pretty back heavy, and it's, if you do get him standing up balance wise, he's going to topple over with the slightest little, you know, movement. But we do get this kind of very basic stand included with a little peg, so you can peg. He does have peg holes at the bottom of both of his feet. Now, taking a closer look at this figure, I think Diamond Select Toys did a, or Gentle Giant Studios really, but you know, it looks good. I don't have my other original Ghostbusters figures to compare if it's the same head sculpt, but something tells me that it is. This is the same, you know, Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd head sculpt we got with the first line, which I think looks really good. I mean, I think for what it is, that's a great likeness to Dan Aykroyd. So very, very cool. The hair has nice sculpt to it. It's really just one solid color. There's no like shading or anything in it, but it does look good. The straps that connect the proton pack look good. Kind of have that like army green. And then we do get some black paint for the buckles and everything all around. So they came out really good. And they are kind of like a softer, you know, plastic material. And that is all kind of floating, but it's all connected to the proton pack. So there really is no way to take this off without cutting that, but I don't know why you would want to have them without the proton pack on anyway. Now, as far as the suit, this is, you know, from the Ghostbusters 2, so it has that kind of very dark grayish hint to it, which I think looks good. I think all the sculpting is done nice in there, all the wrinkles and everything. We do have paint, silver paint for all the zippers and everything, so that turned out really good. The name tag turned out good. And of course we do have the elbow pads, which are a floating separate piece, and it has a nice little sculpt in it, so they look really cool. Same thing on this side, we get that. And then the Ghostbusters 2 patch, you know, turned out good for the most part, for that just being either painted on or screen printed on. I'm not sure how they did that, but it is clean enough, so that is cool. And of course his belt, which again is a, you know, separate kind of floating piece, has some cool gadgets going on it. We do have, I like how they paint the silver on all these little parts of the belt. Definitely makes it stand out and pop a little bit better than just leaving it black, you know. So he's got all his little gadgets and tubes and wires and everything coming out of the belt, so that looks really cool. And it is a very kind of soft plastic material. So that's cool. It's not going to really hinder articulation too much. I did notice that I see the port for the tube that usually comes out of the leg that goes up to the pack. And I don't know, maybe they didn't have that in Ghostbusters 2. I mean, I'd have to go back and see if that's accurate or not. But I double checked the packaging and the floor just to make sure it didn't, you know, fall out when I was taking them out of packaging. And I can't find any tubing. So if anybody has this figure and knows, let me know in the comments if, you know, I am missing the tube portion. But coming down again, we get really nice, you know, sculpted wrinkles all throughout the entire outfit. So that looks really good. And then coming down to his black boots, they turned out nice. We get some nice, you know, sculpting for the laces and everything. So that's really, really cool. And of course, like I said, he has got the 2 peg holes on the bottom. Coming up to one side. Looks good. And like I said, the entire kind of proton pack has a little bit of, you know, movement with it. So it's not, you know, glued on him or strapped or, you know, and just in one place. It does have a little bit of mobility and you know, freedom to kind of move around a little bit. Back of the figure looks pretty decent. Again, we get nice sculpted wrinkles all throughout. And then before we look at the pack, let's take a look at the wand. The wand turned out good. You know, nice sculpt overall. Nothing, you know, too fancy, but the sculpt is there. As far as paint, we get, you know, a little bit of red paint here, a little bit of silver. A little bit of silver for some buttons here and there. So, you know, not bad overall. The handle has a little bit of, you know, sculpted detail in it. So that's cool. And then this part here that kind of has this V, that's where you can attach it to this part of the proton pack. Just kind of line that up and then just kind of wedge it in there. And that will stay on there. And then of course we do have this kind of softer rubbery tubing to connect the wand to the proton pack. And the proton pack itself looks awesome. It looks great. you know, for this scale. There's nothing too fancy about it, but the sculpt is there for the most part, I think. And I really like how they have these stickers everywhere. Where I don't know if everything is legible, but I can make out danger on that. And of course we have the other little stickers that has, you know, scribble on it. I don't know if it's legible or not, but get some nice silver paint here. We got some nice red paint, and of course we have that kind of, you know, ribbon that has the nice, you know, red and blue and yellow painted in it. Again, we have another little sticker on the side there. It doesn't light up or anything like that, but I mean, for what it is, and the sculpt and the paint for, you know, a $15 figure, I think it does a really good job. And as far as articulation, let me put this back on there. Now, as far as articulation, we do get movement in the head. We get, you know, rotation. You get nice down, but not so much up, and that's not because of the pack. It's more or less just because of his, you know, hair sculpt just runs in. So you're not really going to get any up. You do get a little bit of side to side. The arms do hinge out, but only about that much. That will swivel all the way around. No bicep swivel, which I really wish they would start putting bicep swivel in on these figures, because that really helps for two-handed poses, you know, with the wand. We do have rotation at the elbow, of course, and then we have a single bend at the elbow that doesn't really give you much range. Only about that much range you're going to get out of that. He does have a cut here at the upper diaphragm, so you get, you know, rotation out of that. You get a little bit of forward and back movement out of that, and then you have swivel at the waist. So, I mean, using both joints, he can crunch a little bit forward, and he can hunch a little bit back, but not too much. Not really much side to side going on at all. But then you do have, of course, the swivel down there. The legs, you kind of have those ugly, you know, hinges on the side here. But I mean, you can pretty much get him to do the entire splits just about. Like I said, the belt's floating, so it's not going to get in the way too much. Kicking forward about that much, kicking back about that much. You do have a rotation here at the thigh. You do have a cut there. Double jointed knees, which are really kind of ugly and blocky looking, but you know, you get about that much range out of that. And then no swivel at the boot. You do have the hinge that'll bring the foot back that much forward, and then you do have a forward facing pin for rocker. So, you know, decent articulation. I just wish they would work on at least if they're not going to give us double jointed elbows, at least give us a bicep swivel, you know, because it's very limited when you can only get that much range. I mean, yeah, you can move it, but you know, it just makes it look weird when he's holding, or you know, getting him into really cool poses. Just gonna make the figure look weird because he's just not able to do it naturally anyway. Now, as far as swapping the hands out, it's pretty easy. It's just, you know, the peg, then you have the hole. I haven't really had too many issues swapping the hands out. Of course, like I said, those hinges, you got to work on those hinges because they're all gummed up with the paint. But let me put a glove hand on just to show you. Let me break this free. But yeah, you have that separate piece of the glove. Just pop that in there. So that's what he does look like with the gloves on. And as far as holding the wand, the hands that have a little bit of open grip to it, the bare hands anyway, hold it for the most part good. Like I said, this side I'm having my joint, the elbow joint is really gummed up on this side. I can't even get it to bend. So that's really unfortunate. I'm gonna have to, there it goes. So I mean, for the most part, you can get him in some, you know, two-handed poses. So it's not too bad, but he's going to be kind of holding it really far down at his side. But, you know, it's not too bad. Measuring out, he looks like he's a little bit over 7 inches tall. But yeah, guys, that was a look at the Diamond Select Toys Ghostbusters 2. We're back. That's the Ray Stantz figure. You know, at the end of the day, it's a cool representation of, you know, Dan Aykroyd in the second film. I think Gentle Giant Studios did a good job with the sculpt. You know, the paint's a little bit sloppy here and there. But I mean, for $14, he's going to make a decent addition to your collection, especially if you're a Ghostbusters fan, you know. These are figures that you might want to pick up. Like I said, the Dan Aykroyd head and the Egon head, they're pretty well as far as the likeness is, but I feel like some of the other figures don't look as good. As far as attaching that the proton or the neutron effect onto the wand, it just has that little clip, and you just kind of clip it over the top there, and it stays in for the most part, but really it's kind of a pain in the butt to do, because I feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger and snugger of a connection. But you see he does hold it, or does stay in there for the most part, so you can have that effect on there if you want. But yeah, guys, that was a look at the Ghostbusters 2 Ray Stantz figure from Diamond Select Toys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next figure review. Take care.